Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the CrossFit Games Update Show. I'm Sean Woodland with Tommy Marquez and Pat Sherwood. Yesterday, we recapped the men's competition of the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games. Today, we turn our attention to the women, and for the second time in history, we have a repeat female champion, and for the second time, she's also from Iceland. Katrin Davidsdottir wins the title of Fittest Woman on Earth, but the way she did it in 2016 was a lot different than the way she did it the first time last year.
Yeah, Sean, last year she never held first place until after the final event when everything was said and done. This year, kind of grabbed first place towards the middle of the competition after the separator event, and then throughout the weekend she held first place for 5 of the next 7 events. This with an improved Tia Toomey and a Sam Briggs, who was really kind of playing with house money, just even being at the competition. And she battled it out after every event, going punch for punch with these athletes, and once again establishing herself as the queen of CrossFit in very impressive fashion.
What is it with the Icelandic women? She's just incredible. And Katrin's young CrossFit career, it just confuses the heck out of me. So back in 2012, she took 30th as a rookie. You know, congratulations. The next year, 2013, she improves to 24th, but still not really a story. Misses qualification in 2014, so why would we be looking at her at all? Comes back in 2015, she's the fittest woman in the world all of a sudden. So I was really curious to see, because, you know, hey, what could you say? Cara Webb wasn't 100%. Thor's daughter withdrew, and man, the way she won in 2016, good to go. Questions are answered.
European women, for whatever reason, have dominated the CrossFit Games. They've won 5 of the last 6, and 40% of the winners on the women's side have all been from Iceland. Most recently, of course, Katrin Davidsdottir has won 2, and then Annie Thorsdottir was the other Icelandic woman. So the million-dollar question is, what is going on in Iceland?
I have legitimately no idea.
I don't either.
I rack my brain. I mean, for such a small country, just the population size, it doesn't make sense that you know, people that have won the games would come from there twice and they'd both be repeat champions. And then CrossFit has just simply not been around as long there as it has been in the United States and a whole heck of a lot of other places. The facts just don't add up, but I don't know what it is, man. Icelandic women are crushing it.
I mean, you get some clues maybe from some athletes like Annie Thorsdottir, who in some interviews back in the day kind of talked about how Iceland as a country is very progressive in prioritizing health and fitness above everything else. If you see it, some of the video that we've had come back from there, it's absolutely beautiful there some parts of the year, so it's really hard not to be outside and moving around. But even then, to be this successful at that small of a country, I don't know about you guys, but I would be sending scientists over there right now to figure out what is going on over there.
We were really treated to a good battle between Katrin Davidsdottir and Tia Toomey for most of the week when the CrossFit Games kicked off in Aromas on Wednesday. And here's a comparison of their event finishes. Davidsdottir's in the blue, Toomey is in the red, and in fact on Sunday they traded the lead back and forth in every event that we had in the tennis stadium, starting with the handstand walk and then the sprint and then the plow. But Tia Toomey goes on to finish second for the second straight year, and she proves that what we thought may have been a fluke last year, she is now easily one of the best in the world.
Yeah, last year she had probably the quietest podium finish at the CrossFit Games ever, and this year her podium finish could not have been louder, primarily because you saw in that graphic her going toe-to-toe with Katrin the entire way, and it spoke volumes about her future because it seemed like she was going to win for a large part of the competition as well, including finishing her 23rd birthday that Friday at the Games in first place overall. Not a bad birthday present for a 23-year-old athlete who, if you look at the athletes on either side of her, 23 as well, she's setting herself up for some battles in the future among some of these top women.
And I will admit it, okay, I was impressed by her performance, but I wasn't really a believer. I wasn't sold yet, but man, I am now so impressive. I'm always curious to see, after a great year, how do they come back? Because sustained, incredible performances in our sport is so difficult. And she answered all questions. End of day 1, she was in 3rd place. Over the next 4 days, she would lead 5 different times. She dropped out of the top 3 ones to 4th. That's it. And back in 2015, she had 8 top 10 finishes. This year, she has 10. 23 years young, going to compete in the Olympics. She can do it all. My hat's off to her. I can't wait for 2017.
For the first time ever, too, we had a repeat of the top 4 women. 2015, the top 4 women, or top 4 women looked exactly like they did this year, led by Katrin Davidsdottir, then Toomey, Sigmundsdottir, and Sam Briggs, and every one of them scored more points than they did in 2015. Sara Sigmundsson, there were a lot of expectations coming in this year, as there were last year as well. We thought she would do well last year. This year, I think a lot of people thought she would wind up on top of the podium. Now, obviously, Katrin Davidsdottir and Tia Toomey had a lot to do with that. But what is in Sara's control that kept her from winning this year?
It's hard to say, Sean. A lot of people, there were murmurings all over the place on social media and stuff that maybe Sara was the one to beat this year, despite Katrin having won last year. It didn't quite feel like Sara had the pizzazz in terms of performance like she did last year. And even though she was better overall this year, better average event finish, took home more points overall, despite fewer points being up for grabs for these athletes, I think it kind of boils down to two things for me. One, she didn't have that signature moment like she did last year in heavy DT where she won the event and it moved her up into first place overall under the lights. And I look at some of her best event finishes and her competition just outshone her. Her three best finishes, double DT, the plow, and the ocean swim. In each one of those events, the two women that beat her, either Katrin or Tia, outperformed her in that workout. So last year, she led for 8 events. This year, she didn't lead a single time throughout the entirety of the weekend.
We are definitely going to see Sara Sigmundsson back at the CrossFit Games, but two women we will not be seeing back are Samantha Briggs, who announced during the competition that this would be the last time she competes as an individual, and then Michele Letendre calling it quits as well, as far as the Games career is concerned. And both of those women are going to be missed when it comes to the Games.
Oh, to say the least. I mean, this is, for me anyway, should be for the community, genuinely heartbreaking news. These women are phenomenal competitors. They're ones you want to see out there throwing down and making the other competitors better in general. Michele gave us 6 phenomenal seasons. Her best finish was 4th back in 2014. She's arguably our favorite Canadian, one of the nicest people walking the earth. How she is in front of the camera, behind the camera, with the competitors, with the fans, it's the same. You know, she is just fantastic. She's going to be sorely missed. And then, come on, I mean, the other side of this card, Samantha Briggs. She's been to the Games 5 times. She was the champion in 2013. She was the 4th fittest woman the last 2 years in a row, so certainly ending her career on a very high note. Called the engine from England with good reason. I mean, anytime you thought that was going to be involved, yes, she would be one of the top picks. And she's just a true competitor. You talk about character and grit. That's Sam Briggs. I don't know if she ever competed healthy.
Right,
She just
that's
held
true.
together by duct tape and bubble gum, and she would go out there and just try to kill herself in every event. And that's not super common, so those women are going to be definitely missed.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to definitely miss watching Samantha Briggs, hit those home runs, and Michele Letendre, like you said, has been a great ambassador for our sport. I know she will continue to be that, but yeah, we'll definitely miss seeing her compete at the CrossFit Games. Every year, there are always athletes who exceed our expectations, and there were a lot of them on the women's side, but who are the two that you think exceeded them the most?
I'm going to go with Brooke Wells off the bat. So her rookie performance last year, she took 16th place. That's phenomenal as far as I'm concerned. But now, again, I wanted to see this recurring theme. How does she stack up when all eyes are on her and she's not an unknown? I mean, she grew to 410,000 followers on Instagram. She gets mobbed everywhere she goes. We talk about her in the show, and what happens? Man, she shows up. She takes 6th place overall, did phenomenal. Has that home run potential. 415 pounds on the deadlift. She cleared the ladder. It was borderline obscene how strong she is. But then some swings and some misses. A couple 38ths and a 37th. So I think what also makes her so exciting as an athlete is she's so young, 21 years old, and already this good. I think her ceiling for growth, she's nowhere near it yet.
Yeah.
Well, Kyra Pierce, for me, really surprised me with how well she performed at the Games this year. Just winning 2 events at the CrossFit Games is already impressive, but to win arguably 2 of the toughest workouts in Murph, no explanation needed there. And the separator, which for the first time we saw women do ring handstand push-ups at the Games, and it was really tough for a lot of the athletes there, really speaks to the potential of an athlete like Kyra, who is barely 2 years into CrossFit and is already 5th at the Games, already the highest finishing American, which looks good for her chances to compete at the Invitational. Just makes me excited for the possible career arc for her, looking forward to the years to come.
A lot of impressive rookies that showed up this year in Carson, California, but who are the 2 that you think deserve the most credit for the way they performed at the Games?
I'm giving a shout out to Tierra Mo for sure. She was overall the highest placing female rookie. She took 8th. Great year, 27 years old. She was 5th place out of the Central Regional. Okay, this might offend some people, but time for some straight talk. If you are a rookie and you take 5th out of the Central Regional, I'm not looking at you at the games to do much. She completely caught me off guard. I kind of felt like she was the Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson, who totally caught me off guard last year. She did this year. I kept hearing her name over and over again. It's extremely impressive. She's going to help her parents run their affiliate CrossFit Polaris. Her mom competed as a master, so there's something going on in that family. And once again, bring on 2017.
For me, it's Taniya Read. I mean, what a gutsy performance from her all weekend long. Kind of similar to what Pat said about Christy being 5th in the Central. Taniya was 4th at the South Regional, was really battling just to get to the games. But you know what? She starts the weekend with a 7th in the trail run, had a 3rd place finish in the ranch chipper, was as high as 2nd place overall after a 3rd place finish in the swim. She was never lower than 12th place overall for the weekend, showing incredible resiliency because for her to be inside the top 10 for the majority of the weekend means you're standing there every event in the top heat with the best in the sport. And even though she finally slipped outside of the top 10 towards the end, taking 11th place overall, this is hopefully the spark that lights the fire for her to finally be a consistent performing games athlete year after year.
We saw a couple of female athletes battle through some injuries. Jen Smith had that foot injury early on that she suffered at the ranch, and then China Cho as well. The two of them did a very impressive job of managing the pain and getting themselves through the entire test.
Absolutely. Jen Smith, we talked to her before. She's been dealing with some stuff, plantar fasciitis in particular, all season long, and then she heard it pop during the trail run, and it didn't look like she was going to be able to continue, but you know what? She did. She stuck it out, and seeing her finish Murph and walking through the soccer stadium was one of the highlights of the weekend. I don't think I've ever heard the soccer stadium that loud bringing her in, and not only did she not give up, she didn't take last place overall despite having that injury, barely being able to walk all weekend long. An incredibly impressive performance. And then China Cho also got hurt at the ranch. She rolled her ankle, and I remember seeing her walking up to the swim on Thursday morning, and she was hobbling down the stairs, had to be helped a little bit, and I asked her what happened. She told me about the injury, and she was actually last alongside Jen Smith to get into the water for the swim. And you know what? It didn't stop her. She came out in 5th place, and that kind of set the precedent for her the rest of the weekend. Despite being injured, she still kept showing up, performed really well, and 17th with a bum ankle is nothing to be sad about.
And speaking of injuries, Cara Webb is a woman who for the past 2 years had that shoulder injury in 2014 that knocked her out, then last year the difficulties with heat after Murph, but she finally gets through her games cleanly here, and it was good to see her at 100% to see what she could really do.
That's all she wanted. Let me be 100% start to finish so that wherever I shake out, I can be happy with that. And she took 7th place. She was obviously shooting for the podium, but she's happy with her performance because she didn't have that kind of drama we've seen the last couple of years. Last year, if you remember, man, she got so messed up by Murph. She kind of became the poster child for going way too hard on that event, but it could have been something negative, but Cara Webb she takes it as a positive. Everything's a learning experience. She grows and becomes a better athlete from it. This year took 8th on Murph, and it didn't mess her up at all. This positive attitude that I'm talking about, she's incredibly caring, warm, supporting, a tremendous ambassador of the community. She's been doing it year after year, not only at the games, but with the members of her affiliate. Because of all of that, she was awarded the Spirit of the Games, and I'll tell you what, I think you could not have given it to a more deserving recipient.
Well, that is going to do it for us as far as looking back at the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games, but there are still a lot of things ahead to look forward to. We have the team series right around the corner. The Invitational is still out there as well, so we'll have plenty more to talk about here as the year progresses. But for now, work on that fitness. For Pat Sherwood and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. We'll see you guys next time.